To get started grading your students' work using Doctopus and Goobric, we're going to take 5 steps. First, we're going to create an assignment in Google Classroom. Second, we're going to create our rubric in Google Sheets. Third, we'll install Doctopus. Fourth, we'll add Goobric. And fifth, we'll be able to start grading the student assignments. Here we go. Step 1 is to create an assignment in Google Classroom. And so if you're currently using Google Classroom, you can use any assignment that your students have turned in work from. If you are not using Google Classroom and you want to participate in this example, you can just create a new classroom and invite some fellow teachers to the classroom as students, and that way you'd have some students here and you can grade their work that way. So what I'm going to do is create a new assignment. Okay, now in most cases this would be enough to make the process work if you had students who could actually create new Google Docs and add them to the assignment. But if you don't have students for this, if you're just trying to walk through the process without students in your classroom, what you want to do is add a document here and make sure each student gets a copy, and that way there's something in each student account that you can grade. So I'm going to do that just so for those of you that aren't using Classroom regularly, you can go through the process and use this. So what I'll do is I'll jump over to my Google Drive real quick, and I'll create a new document, and we'll say writing instructions. Please write a paper below. Okay, so that's all I'm going to put on this document. I'll click up here, that will give it a name, and we'll close this. Okay, so back in Classroom, now I have a document I can attach. So I'll click on Google Drive, and it should be right at the top of the recent documents. So I'll add that, and this is important. Make a copy for each student, and then assign it. And the reason that's important is because this copies this document into each student's individual folder, and so that's what Doctopus and Goobric need to find and pull into the program to be able to grade. Okay, so again, if you're using Google Classroom regularly, just make an assignment and have your students create their work and turn it in. It would work fine that way. Okay, so we have an assignment. Step 2 is to create a rubric. So I'm going to go back to Google Drive, and I'm going to create a new sheet. Your rubric has to be in a spreadsheet, and it has to follow 3 rules. Rule number 1 is that cell A1 has to be empty. Rule number 2 is that your categories for your rubric have to be listed down the left side in the A column. So starting with A2, I'm just going to make up some categories real quick. Okay, so I'm going to have 3 categories to grade on this rubric. Rule 3 is that you have your scores up at the top, and they have to be whole numbers. So I'm going to start with the highest number. I'll say a 4, and a 3, and a 2, and a 1. And those are my scores. In this area here, you can put in your descriptions of what does a 4 mean when we're talking about length. So I'm going to make up some work here real quick as well. Okay, so I've put in some kind of silly descriptions here. Obviously, this is not a very good quality rubric here, but it'll work for our purposes today. So I've got my 3 rules again. Cell A1 is empty. My categories are here on the left side. You can have more if you want. And my scores are whole numbers, and they're up at the top here. And you can go descending or ascending. It doesn't matter which direction you go. 4 is going to be the highest score for me, and 1 is going to be the lowest score, and so I went this direction. But it's up to you. Okay, I'm going to name this as my rubric. And I'll go ahead and close this out. Okay, step number 3 is to add Doctopus to Google Sheets. And actually, every time you're going to do a new grading session here, you're going to create a new sheet to grade with. And so I'll do that right here. New Google Sheets. And I'm just going to call this Grading the Project. Okay, so what we need to do is go to the Add-ons menu, and we need to go to Get Add-ons. And then up here, you're going to type in Doctopus. And you'll see it here at the top. And I'm going to click plus free. It's going to ask me for a bunch of permissions, so I'm going to say allow. And now it is active. So I'm going to close that little message that comes up. I'm going to go to Add-ons, Doctopus, Setup, and then step 1, Select Mode. Over here on Select Mode, I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to say Ingest a Google Classroom assignment. And that just means like import the assignment data. Next, I need to pick which classroom I want to do this for. So I'm going to choose my English class there. And next, I need to select the assignment that I want to do this for. So I'm going to choose this one, Massive Writing Project. Okay, so in my case, it found 0 turned in files, which means none of my students have turned it in because I just created this assignment. But that's okay, we can still use that. So I'm going to say ingest assignment. Okay, and so this panel over here says there's a button here for attach Goobric. And so before I do that, let me just show you what this did. Down at the bottom, you'll notice there's a new tab down here, and it says ingested from CR. And here is my list of students, and I only have 3 example students here, but and there's a link to the document. It says it's not turned in. And this isn't, you don't need to pay any attention to what's in here, really. What we're going to see is that once we attach Goobric, it's going to modify this list a little bit. So I'm going to click Attach Goobric. And if it's the first time you're running this, it's going to have some links down here that you'll need to step through in order to attach Goobric to your account. And so it's pretty simple. You'll see the links there, and it'll say you know, install the Goobric add-on or whatever, and just kind of click through those links and that'll walk you through it. So I've already got it in here, so I'm going to go to My Drive, and I'm going to click to select a spreadsheet. And I just want to find the one I was working on, and there it is, my project rubric. So I'll select that one. And it's going to check your work, and it'll say if you violate any of those 3 rules we talked about, it won't allow you to import this rubric, but mine looks good. And so I have some check boxes here: make it viewable to students, allow self or peer assessment, and send email notifications to students. You can leave all those checked and attach the rubric. Okay, now we have everything in place. So installing Doctopus and installing Goobric, you only have to do that one time. And once you've done it once, the rest of the stuff works like normal. So all of that was just a one-time operation. So I can even close this right now. And so what you'll see here on this ingested from CR tab, you'll see not only is there a link to the document, but there's a link to assess document. And that has the rubric attached. So all you do is you start with your first student, click on this link, and you have to click this little pop-up link here. And it's going to ask you for some permissions, so we review the permissions, and we say allow. Okay, and now you're in the Goobric work area, which I demonstrated in the previous video. So real quick, I'm just going to score these 3 students. So we'll say 4, quality is a 4, effort was a 4, nice job, and auto advance. So I'm just going to click submit. We'll move on to the next one. And this was a 3, and a 2, and a 2. And work harder. And submit. And this was a terrible assignment. Redo. Submit. Okay, so every student now has been graded. They all received their documents with, this was what they turned in, this part, and then here's what Goobric just attached. And it's their score and the comments, and I didn't do any audio comments, so that's all that's there. Okay, now, if you want to turn this in as part of the Tech Challenge program, what you want to do here is on one of these screens where you have Goobric up and running and you have a score sheet there, just do a screenshot, and that is Command-Shift-4, and then your mouse is a little crosshairs there, and just click and drag and draw a box around this stuff there. And then when you let go, it'll take a picture, it'll show up on your desktop, and you can turn that picture in. You can upload that to your Google Classroom assignment for the Tech Challenge program. Okay, I hope you find Doctopus and Goobric a helpful addition to grading big projects, especially writing projects.